try to do that now, if you don't mind.
What we're doing is we're trying to clarify, I just got a question, as to what's the difference between a trustee and a special master, and what responsibilities that they have.
Question?
Right. With the special master, we get into situations where, again, we're court appointed. One of the questions I was asked about was there was one in Kentucky where the special master had sold a property very cheap for like $5. That doesn't happen in our case. In our case, at least in Ohio, statutory requirement is that we have to have 3 brokers' price opinions done, and then it has to bring 2/3 of the appraised value. So if you're familiar with sheriff sales, a lot of those will have to do the 2/3 statutory requirement. So we have to do the same thing. Has to bring 2/3. It also has to be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation for 3 weeks, commencing no less than 30 days prior to the auction. So that's a little bit different. We do targeted marketing, obviously, whether it's going to be a commercial building, then we're going to do your commercial, brochures and so forth. But the financial institution can also credit bid on the property. Does everybody understand what credit bidding means?
No.
Okay, credit bid is where the bank has the right to bid back the property. If you're familiar with sheriff sales, how many of you have been to sheriff sale, first of all? Okay. Out of the sheriff sale, how many of those properties do you think actually sold? Okay. Well, I had lunch with a banker last week. His estimate was that 97% of properties are bought back by the bank. Okay? That's, I don't know if you have any different numbers than that, but that was the number I was given, was 97%.
I think that'd be very accurate.
And this came from a bank vice president who's been in special assets for 15 years. So I always ask myself, well, why, I don't understand buyers who go to sheriff sales, so why bid against the bank? I don't get it. But the special master, it's good. We have to do all the things I talked about. 2/3 appraised value, has to be advertised in the newspaper of general circulation for 30 days. Commencing no less than 3 weeks prior to the auction, has to be approved by the court before the sale is ratified. So what happens is that on auction day, I sell the property and we fill out all the paperwork, and then I tell the buyer that they have 30 days upon court confirmation to close. So in my case, we take paperwork, we submit it to the bank's attorney. The bank's attorney submits it to the court. The court says yay or nay, then the buyer has 30 days from there. I've got one right now where I sold property in December. It still hasn't closed because the borrower or debtor said that I didn't follow the rules of procedure, which I know I did, and I know it'll be upheld. But this thing is drug out now, and the magistrate's saying they're not even going to hear it until June. So I've got this poor buyer's money sitting out in our trust account now for 6 months, trying to close on the property because this deadbeat debtor has held up the process. So, any other questions I can answer on special masters?
Michael, who pays you on these?
Bank.
The
Qualify. I work on a buyer's premium. Okay, so we charge solely the buyer's premium. That's how we get paid. The bank pays for all advertising and so forth. So the bank, depending on the bank, will either front the advertising, or certain banks we have relationships with where we front the advertising and take it back at a close. A lot of your instructors here will tell you don't ever do that. Okay, I'm not recommending you do that, because you can get yourself in a hurt if it never closes or whatever. Or in my case, this process is going out 6 months now, so it can put a hurt on you. Yes, sir.
Well, we're in a bankruptcy class, and I hear all this, and you're from Ohio, right?
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm from, so I'm pretty familiar with what you're saying. You say you're court appointed. Who's appointing you, federal court or state court?
Common pleas court.
That's state court.
Yes, sir.
So you're not working with the bankruptcy at all?
I am not talking about bankruptcies at
You're
all.
working about foreclosures?
It is foreclosure.
Okay.
And this afternoon, I believe you guys have a class dealing with banks as well. So, but I'm specifically talking about special master. Mark's talking about bankruptcy.
Special master
Just how do
foreclosure.
you handle that buyer now that you're sitting there on a deal and what's keeping him tied to that contract?
He's kept to the contract because the contract clearly states that it is subject to the approval of the common police court.
Court.
So until the court says yay or nay, he's on the hook.
That's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yes, sir.
Is he on the hook for a substantial non-refundable pre-advertised deposit, or is he on the hook for the whole liability of the whole thing?
If the bankruptcy, or excuse me, if the common police court says yay to the sale, then he's on the hook for the full deal. If the bankrupt, or sorry, got me confused now. If the common police court says that we're not going to uphold the sale, then we'll refund his deposit. Yeah, so he's just, holding pattern basically. So if it doesn't work, then he'll get his money back. Anybody else? Hopefully that clears it up a little bit. Thank you. Thanks.
Good information.
Thank you, Michael, and just to clarify, we got there. Well, that
Thank you.
One thing I was asked was, why are we talking about special masters in a bankruptcy? If it doesn't apply, then you put us in that precarious position. But no, it was, we really want to know the difference, and I did not know the difference, because in Georgia, we don't have special masters. In Florida, we don't have special masters either, I don't think. So, and that's the two states that I primarily work in. So I thank you, Michael, for doing that. Michael brought up a couple of very good points. And I know what my opinion of it is, and I know what I have always seen. The question was discussed, how do you hold that buyer in a prolonged closing? All of our bankruptcy contracts are also drawn subject to bankruptcy court approval. Now, various cases, and every now and then, you'll get one that the bankruptcy court has the ability, the trustee has the ability through the initial filings to approve it on his own. But most of the time, the trustees don't want that liability. They want the judge coming in and rubber stamping it and saying, yep, it brought enough, so I'm gonna sign off on that. That relieves them of any liability. I have had bankruptcy closings be drawn out 6 months in appeal process. We recently did an estate. Good lesson to learn here, folks. We recently did an estate. It was in a bankruptcy, but it was a very confusing situation. The bank had lent money on this particular tract of land. They had done a title abstract. In their title abstract, they had neglected to find that the property was 1/2 owned by another family member. They showed the debtor having 100% interest in it in their title abstract. They had a title abstract, so we didn't do a title abstract. So on the whole, we got to closing, and the purchaser's attorney did a title abstract.